Hello and welcome to my video lecture on the built-in functions in PHP that will let you pass control from your current page to another page or another file. So looking at these, we have include. The parentheses that are used in include are optional. We'll see that in the example on the next slide. If you are going to include, you are going to send in a path or a variable, in this case, name path, that would have the path to the file you want executed or included. The include function runs the specified file. However, if it can't find the file or the file doesn't execute for whatever reason, it causes a warning to be displayed, but it allows the script to run. So that's a little different than require. Require, same as include, all the same basic tenets, except that require will cause a fatal error to occur, not just a warning. So when you say, so if in your code you need a file to execute in order for everything to run properly, then you need to run a require function. If not, if you're simply including it and it's not actually going to cause a failure, then you can use the include function. And then both of these functions have an underscore once variation, and that will ensure that the file is only brought into memory once. And we get more into this later on in the course, but for now, just kind of keep that in mind. And the last two functions, exit and die, are basically, for all intents and purposes, the same exact function. You can either use exit or you can use die. And what that does is it causes the current PHP script to exit. Right? So it'll just, whatever PHP script is running, it will exit out and will continue with the next available file or the next available HTML code, whatever. What you can do is you can supply a status. Again, you don't need the parentheses, but if you are going to supply a status, you should use you have to use parentheses, and the status would be some kind of a message that would be sent to the browser. So here are just some examples. Here we're showing that you can use the include using parentheses or not using parentheses. In this case, we're including the index.php file. Just a note, you can have multiple index.php files in your project, and we'll see that in later in the course, that you'll see how you could do that. So here we're using the require function. The require function, again, works pretty much the same exact way as the include function, only, again, if there is no index.php file, the require will cause a fatal error in your code. And then here we have an example of the exit function. Again, no reason to do this again for the die function because they're exactly the same. So you can simply call exit, or you can use exit with empty parentheses. Or if you want to pass a message to the browser when you're exiting your script, you can supply whatever message you want, in this case, unable to connect to DB. So how to pass control to another PHP file in the current directory is pretty straightforward. You don't have to supply a path. So in this case, we've got a little if statement that's testing the is valid variable to see whether or not it's true or false. And if it is true, the code that's in between the curly braces will get executed. In this case, we will include a file called process_data.php. And once that gets included, we exit out of the script. So, how to navigate up and down directories. Again, depending on your experience using writing code, you realize that you have a root directory for your project. So if you're in your index.php file or your index.html file at the root of your project, if you want to go down one directory, say at your root directory, you also have a folder called view. If you need to include the header PHP file that's in that view folder, this is how you would reference it from the index.php file. Again, this depends on where you are in your project. We will see in later in the course that your directory structure that's underneath your or used in your project can be fairly complicated. So we're going to be using a lot of these navigations up and down directories. So if we're looking for a file that's in the current directory, much like we did with the include here, this is essentially the same exact thing as we're doing with the regular include. So this dot backslash really is dot forward slash really is not necessary. This is just in the current directory, so you don't need that. But if you wanted to go up one directory, so say you were in the header PHP file in the view file, and this error PHP file was in your root directory of your project, you would use this notation. So you would use dot dot forward slash error PHP, which would basically say that while I'm in this header file, if I needed to go up to the root directory to find this error PHP file, that is the notation that I would use. If I had to go up two directories, so say I'm in a database slash view header PHP file, and I need to go back up to the root because that's where my error PHP file is. Again, I would use dot dot slash and then dot dot slash again to go up two directories. So that is the end of my my video lecture on the built-in functions that pass control and how to navigate up and down directories.